First, in way of preamble, to kind of get everything ready for the sermon, I want to say that parts of this sermon I have stolen, rather blatantly, from a sermon that I used back at confirmation a month or so ago. So if you were at confirmation, you might recognize some of those, some things. Also, this sermon is an amalgamation, kind of a putting together of a bunch of things that I've ran into over the last year and a half. And so it's difficult to really cite my source at any point because it's kind of a bunch of things put together. So what I'm going to do is cite my sources at the beginning. First, a lecture from Dr. Sundberg at Luther Seminary about a year ago. Then Thomas Friedman's book, The World is Flat. Philip Strierland, a business consultant that spends time kind of all over the world, he did a continuing education class that Pastor Khan and I attended in October, so that was part of it. And then finally, it's been about listening to what is actually happening in your lives and the lives of people that I know. Now, this sermon has 3 sections. First, a sketch of this new world that we live in. Second, a picture of what is happening in the world Christianity right now. And third, kind of a, now what? What does that mean for the church? So with all of that stuff, now I'm going to start my sermon. How many of you have noticed the world changing around you? How many of you have, back in 2005, so say a little over 2 years ago, how many of you had an iPod or an MP3 player in your household? I've got one hand, 2, couple, 3, 4. Now, how many today have an iPod or an MP3 player in your household? It's quite a few more hands. It's significantly more hands. iPods have gone from relative obscurity to almost being common in just over 2 years. The fall of 1995 was the first time I ever sent an email. When was the first time you ever sent an email? Do you remember? This is a new world that we are living in. And I'm going to give you a sketch, a picture of what it looks like. First, in this new world, there is a decreased loyalty to institutions. Example, as a kid on vacation, my father would drive out of his way to get gas at an Amoco station. Nowadays, we just stop at the first gas station on the right-hand side of the road. This also has insight for the church. Denominations like Lutheran, Catholic, Assembly of God, Baptist, all have decreasing influence as people shop for a congregation. People care more about the experience that they have at these individual congregations. Second, in this new world, people want to be connected to something larger than themselves. This is why the CEO of Cisco, Cisco makes computer stuff, routers, hubs, Ethernet. That's why the CEO of Cisco, he brings all of the new hires to their main store place in California, and he tells them about how they are going to participate in bringing internet to developing nations. He is letting them see how they are going to be part, or how they are going to participate in something larger than themselves. People don't just want to come to work and show up. They want to be a part of something larger. Thirdly, time tyranny. No one has enough time. I talk with a lot of people, and I hear this over and over. In the faith interviews that we did with the 10th graders prior to their confirmation just a month or so ago, I heard 10th graders talk about managing school, work, family, friends, sports, music, plays, all kinds of extracurriculars. No one has enough time. And because of the internet in the last 5 to 7 years, this has become a worldwide phenomenon. A buddy of mine works for Boston Scientific. He's an engineer there. And about 4 years ago, he was sent over to Ireland. And he was kind of excited about going over there. He figured it'd be a little bit slower pace. Well, he got back about 2 months ago. And I asked him, I was curious. He's like, so what was it like over there? He said that when he arrived, it was no slower paced there than here. And it sped up as he was there. Time tyranny. Fourth is activity addiction. We are caught up in a global wheel of activity. Then there is a loss of time for reflection. There's tons of information. In fact, in the last 2 years, there were 2.4 trillion emails sent. And in the next 36 months, they predict that number to double. We are drowning in information and starving for wisdom. Thomas Friedman says that we live in constant whitewater. Fifth is organizational ADD. Institutions are not clear about where they're going. And at the same time, people want to follow. Sixth is overchoice. In every aspect of our lives, we have too many choices. Case in point, I needed toothpaste. So I walked into Target, and I walked into the toothpaste aisle, and I began to notice that my eyes were glazing over, and I was becoming a little tense. And I said to myself, why, Chell, you are suffering from a case of overchoice. I didn't actually say that, but I realized in hindsight. 84. There were 84 different types of toothpaste to choose from. It's kind of like how we have 1,000 channels on our television and there's still nothing to watch. Seventh and finally, excess access. We are always connected. Wi-Fi, Blackberries, iPhones. A good friend of mine, Justin, we were going up to his boss's cabin. It's just the other side of the lake is the Boundary Waters. Okay, so it's kind of in the middle of nowhere. You drive up to Grand Marais, take a left up the Gunflint Trail, drive for 20 minutes about. Then you take a left just after you cross over this little bridge onto a gravel road. And then you drive on that for probably 20 minutes. Next, you take a right-hand turn onto this glorified hiking trail. You know, you really wonder if your car should be on this. And drive for another 15, 20 minutes. And you pull up to on the lawn at his boss's cabin, and Justin gets out, and he has 3 bars of service on his cell phone. We are always connected. These 7 things, decreased institutional loyalty, wanting to be connected to something larger than ourselves, time tyranny, activity addiction, organizational ADD, overchoice, and excess access are a sketch of the new world in which we live in. We look at this picture of the new world because we are not church in a vacuum. We are church in the world.